On the last day of March, a coalition of advocacy groups filed a lawsuit against yet another of Trump's targeted executive orders. This one is aimed at hijacking, overhauling the U.S. election system to the benefit to the Republican Party and no one else. The gist of this lawsuit claims that Trump's unilateral actions to reshape federal election voting, such as requiring proof of citizenship for registration and limiting mail-in voting deadlines, exceed his presidential authority and risk disenfranchising millions of voters. The order violates and subverts the separation of powers by lawlessly arrogating to the president authority to declare election rules by executive fiat, the lawsuit states. The order is an attack on the constitutionally mandated checks and balances that keep American elections free and fair. Filed in the D.C. Federal Court by the Campaign Legal Center and State Democracy Defenders Fund on behalf of the League of United Latin American Citizens, Secure Families Initiative, and Arizona Students Association. The lawsuit seeks to block parts of the order and compel the Trump administration to rescind any related guidance. The defendants named include the Executive Office of the President, Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense, and the United States Election Assistance Commission, EAC, and its commissioners. Trump's executive order, signed last week, claims that the U.S. fails to enforce basic and necessary election protections. It directs the Department of Justice to prosecute election crimes in non-compliant states, requires the Department of Homeland Security to collaborate with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to review state voter registration lists, and instructs the EAC to withhold federal funding from states that do not adopt uniform and non-discriminatory vote counting standards. Under the Constitution, state governments must safeguard American elections in compliance with federal laws that protect Americans' voting rights and guard against dilution by illegal voting, discrimination, fraud, and other forms of malfeasance and error, the order asserts. The executive order mandates nationwide proof of citizenship for voter registration, a departure from current laws. Acceptable documents include a passport, real ID, military ID card, or valid federal or state ID. However, the lawsuit highlights that the order excludes identification documents issued by tribal governments and birth certificates. It also questions the approved methods, noting that only half of Americans have a passport and most real IDs do not indicate citizenship. The lawsuit argues that the order's directive to the EAC to modify the registration form to include the proof of citizenship requirement could violate the Voter Registration Act of 1993, which grants the EAC exclusive authority to manage the form.